I literally drove like 400 miles all over New Mexico. Like they didn't even know they didn't know the distance. They didn't even know they were sending me this far. And I just was terrified. I was like, what if I don't find her? I just like started, like, how do you, it's like a needle in a haystack.
Welcome back to this week's episode of It Takes Grit. I've been referencing this girl in a couple of my podcasts, so you guys are going to get to see some behind the scenes stuff. But Lindsay, thank you so much for being on the It Takes Grit podcast.
Thank you so much for having me. I'm so excited. This is literally a manifestation in itself, being here.
I love it. Yes, Lindsay is all about manifesting. She's a journalist. She has an amazing event in LA, and we're going to be hearing all the things about how to manifest the life that you want. So Lindsay, first of all, how did you even get to where you are today? This, podcast is all about grit and the things that you need to get to where you are. But you've created this amazing event in LA. You've written for some amazing publications. You've got a great network of people around you. But where are you from, and how did you get to where you are right now?
So, I originally started, if you're literally where I'm from, is I'm from Chicago, and now I'm in LA. How I got here is really, honestly, manifestation and just believing in yourself. I literally wrote down every day that I wanted to be an entertainment reporter. As soon as I found out what The Secret was, my senior year of college, I saw The Secret. I had always been a manifester since I was thinking about this yesterday, since I was 3 years old. I was like, my mom would be like, you would drive past the store and be like, I think these Polly Pocket shoes I want are at the store right now, let's go. And there'd be only one in my size and color when we went. So I would always be in this frequency. So I didn't know it was a thing till I saw The Secret. And I just wrote down, I'm going to move to LA next year. I'm going to go to every single red carpet. I'm going to win an award in journalism. And I did. Within 3 months, I met someone who had a contact at the magazine. I didn't know anybody in California. I had no friends here. I'm not from here. I don't have family members, nothing. I met someone in Illinois whose sister happened to work at a magazine. I sent them my resume. Obviously, I went to school for journalism. I put in the work. It wasn't like poof, they gave me a job. I had to prove myself. But I met the right person at the right time, and someone happened to quit when I was moving here, as law of attraction always works, and I happened to be moving down the street. And I just happened to get the job. And so it all kind of manifested that way. And I also realized from a young age, my event happened. It's such a long story, all these things, but the event happened because I had left my dream job. So that's also interesting, is that you can manifest something, and it's my dream job, but it wasn't my dream lifestyle. I was working 20 hours a day. So I realized, okay, I could be Juliana Rancic. That's on my vision board. I want to be that. But do I want to give up having a family, taking care of my health? And I didn't want to. So I left to go freelance. I didn't know what I wanted to do next. And that's where my events came across. A lot of my friends were YouTubers, influencers. And this was at a time when brands weren't working with them as much. And I was like, well, I go to all these Hollywood events. Why aren't they doing this for YouTubers? So I just started doing that, and people started asking for more. And then the brands I started working with started contacting me for all these different opportunities. It kind of turned into a little business, but it really just happened for me calling up people on the phone. That's how I met you. I just went up to you and was like, hey, you're really cool. I don't even know what I said. Let's be friends. And I do that with everyone I know, whether it's an amazing influencer, go-getter, motivational speaker like you, all the way to brands like Adobe, or just being a reporter interviewing celebrities on the red carpet. I just go and ask questions.
Where do you think you get that confidence from, just to go up to someone and say, hey, let's be friends, or hey, I want to do business with you, or where does that come from?
I think there's a few places. One, I'm an only child, so I had to learn to make friends with people. Otherwise, I was going to just be by myself all the time. Another thing, actually, it was a pivotal moment when I was 10 years old. I used to paint every day. I love doing art. And I went to this painting place, and the manager of the painting store, ceramic places, just went up to me and was like, let me teach you how to paint better. And so I was like, yeah, because at the time I wanted to be an artist. And I was like, this is amazing. I'm 10, and I painted like a normal 10-year-old when I was 10. This guy taught me how to paint so good that by the next year I was entering competitions and beating people who were 40 at painting. And he also was like, do you want to come like work for the painting place? Like, you're 10 years old, but what we can do is in exchange for working here, I can give you free stuff to paint. And I was like, this is the best thing in the world. Like, I literally at my house have like over 100 painting pieces in the house. And people started like offering me money for like my paintings that they like put in the store, like these ceramic pieces, but I was like 10. And so during that time, I realized if you want to get something that you want, you need to surround yourself with people who know how to do that, who are going to take you under your wing. Because I went from being a regular 10-year-old painter to being able to paint better than people who are 40 years old, winning competitions and having people wanting to buy my work just because I met somebody who took me under their wing. So that kind of taught me, like, don't be afraid to talk to people. Don't be afraid to ask for advice and help. It can really help you excel, and you are who you surround yourself with.
I love that. And we talk about mentorship all the time, you know, especially on this podcast. It's like, you can't get anywhere without having a mentor, without having somebody that's literally going to take you under your wing. But you also have to be ready to receive the criticism and ready to receive like that, some negativity to help you get better. When you were doing the journalism, how long did you work for that job? What was it like? You said 20 hours a day. Like, what were you doing? Like, tell us more about that, because that's very interesting.
Yes. Oh, it was what I learned from being a journalist is 9 out of 10 times, if you want something, you will get it. So basically, when I first started the job, sorry, Alex is using the blender and it's distracting me. Can you hear it in the background?
It's okay. It's good. I can chop this bit out. It's fine.
Okay. Do you want me to tell him to stop?
No, he can finish blending.
Okay. Sorry. I didn't mean to stop, but I was like, what am I saying? Should I just wait till he's done then?
Is he done?
No, it's still going, but if you can't hear it, it's fine.
I can't hear it. I can't hear it.
Okay, so what was the last question? It was
we'll go back to what it was like being a journalist.
Okay, so being a journalist is really exactly what you imagine it to be on TV. I mean, there's more into it than you think. It's not all the glitz and glam. I'll be on the red carpet. I'll be doing stuff, but it's really like my first week working there, they pulled me into the office and they said, we're flying you to New Mexico and you have to find Jennifer Aniston, and you either sink or you float. And I was like, what does that mean? Like, I'm going to another state and I just have to find a person. And they're just like, well, we think she's staying at this hotel. Just go around the town, ask people questions and see like if they know where she is or anything about her. And so I'm just like, I've only been working here a week. I have to just pack my bags and go to New Mexico and rent a car, which I'd never done before, and just drive. I literally drove like 400 miles all over New Mexico. Like, they didn't even know they didn't know the distance. They didn't even know they were sending me this far. And I just was terrified. I was like, what if I don't find her? I just like started, like, it's like a needle in a haystack. But I just talked to everyone I knew, and it's so weird because actually she wasn't there, I found out. And it turned out the 2 people I met in New Mexico, one of the people had a friend who was the set costume designer. Their friend was a set costume designer on the show. And then the other person I met, their girlfriend, worked at the hotel she actually ended up staying at. So it was really funny. It was like, it's also a law of attraction. You never know who you're talking to. Like, out of all of New Mexico, me just talking to like a server at a restaurant who knew someone who worked there, it just shows that really the universe, when they want you to do something, they conspire to put you there. But yeah, it's a crazy job. There's so much more going into it than people realize. It really is 20-hour days. I always had a bag packed. I've had to knock on people's doors. I've had to call people on the phone. I've had to, when celebrities pass away, calling their family members. It's so hard to just like bombard people and do things like that. But again, that's where I realized that 9 out of 10 times, if you pick up the phone and call someone or knock on a person's door or get thrown into a situation like going to New Mexico and you just have to make it work, somehow you always make it work.
That's awesome. And you know what's really great, which I'm relating right now, is a lot of people that listen to this have their own business, they have their own side hustle. And what do you need to do when you start a business? You have to get clients and you have to put yourself out there. But most people have a fear of like imposter syndrome. But like, you did not, like, you had a job that had to be done, and that was the only thing that you were focused on.
Yeah, that's how I feel as well when I was on the red carpet. They'd be like, do you get starstruck when you like talk to a celebrity? And I'm like, I'm nervous, but not because they're a celebrity. I'm nervous because I have a set of questions I need answered and I want them to answer it. Because sometimes you're talking to someone and they're like, no, that question's inappropriate. And they just like shut you down and you're just like, oh my God, like, did I like ruin your day? Like, I'm just doing my job. But I also learned from that as well, because they're so good. Like, you know, when people are talking to you and they ask you something maybe you don't want to answer, but you feel like you have to, they just shut it down. And so I'm just like taking mental notes, like, wow, they have like the confidence to also say no. I want to like absorb that as well. But I also want to make them feel comfortable, because some people, you could tell they get nervous when you're, you know, you are putting them on the spot, asking things they don't want to answer. So I always try to do it both ways, where I also want them to know, like, you don't have to answer the question. Just like say, I'm not comfortable, like as long as it's in my notes that I asked you. But yeah, it's the things that you learn. And I definitely am scared. I've been terrified. I was like one time I knocked on Diplo's door and he actually answered, and I'm like shaking, and he was so nice. And I was like, you like never know what you're going to get. Like most of the time they don't slam the door in your face, luckily.
Right. That's amazing. So did you ever find Jennifer Aniston later on in life, or did you ever find her?
I've never actually like met her or been with her in like real life, but like I said, she actually wasn't there. She was getting there like the day I was like leaving New Mexico, and they just didn't extend my stay. But it was nice because I was actually at like a hotel that was $500 a night, so it was a free vacation. And so it was fun. I got to see New Mexico.
That's amazing. So how long were you there at that company for? How long were you doing those 20 hours a day for?
I was there for about 3 years full time, and I still work there. It's just freelance now. But yeah, and not every day was 20 hours, but there was 1 month I worked every single day of the week, the entire month. And every weekend I was in another state. Like I'd be in Vegas for the Billboard Awards one weekend. Then Jenny McCarthy got married. This was a few years ago. She's from Illinois. I'm from Illinois. So I begged them to send me home for that weekend. And then like, I remember after that entire month, they're like, do you want to go to like West Virginia for Teen Mom? And I was like, I can't, like, I've been working for 30 days straight. And an award season. The award shows look really fancy to everyone, which they're fun. They're like my favorite thing. However, when you're going to 2 events a day and you have to stay there till the last celebrity leaves, which is like 4 a.m, then you have to file all your interviews. And so you don't go to bed till like 6 or 7, and then you have to go to work by like 8 or 9 the next day and work because the magazine's going to close and submit it. So they don't realize that you're getting like 1 hour of sleep at like a week.
Wow. What do you think the highlight is of those 3.5 years that you worked there? Do you have like one moment where you're like, I feel like I've made it? Like, this is like the pinnacle. This is what I've been manifesting. This is what I really wanted. Was there like one moment in particular that shines out for you?
I mean, I feel like there's a couple things, but just getting the job itself, because I mean, if we take it back to when I was 7 years old, I would see movies and I don't know why. I'd be like, I'm supposed to like know these celebrities and work with them, but be like equal. And I don't know why. And I had this feeling where I couldn't sit through a movie, and I'd get so angry. And I didn't know why, because again, at the time I wanted to be an artist. I didn't want to move to LA. I didn't want to do any of these things, but it was like, I guess it was like a feeling of destiny. You know, you watch a movie or like Mulan and they're like, this is like your destiny. Like I felt that feeling and I didn't know what it meant. So I would always question and not always be confident in myself. Like I wasn't that kid who got picked for everything all the time in school. And I was just like, how am I going to get picked for this? Like you have to have an agent. Like it's Hollywood. Like what if they don't pay me? What do they do? And somehow my life came together to actually put me. So like just getting the job itself. But if you want a cool story, I would say, other than like being at the Oscars and all the award shows, because every time I walk down the red carpet, I just feel like that's how I envision myself, the wind in my hair. One of the coolest days where I felt like I made it was there was this show that was, I think on like TLC, kind of like the Real Housewives, but for Vegas. And there was this press release that was like, be a millionaire for a day. And a different reporter couldn't go, and they sent me. So I ended up getting to go on a yacht in Newport Beach. And then that day we went on a private jet to Vegas. And the lady, she's actually like all manifesting as well, like law of attraction. Her husband, he's the architect for the Cosmopolitan Hotel. So we all got to stay at the Cosmopolitan for the night and like go to their mansion and like go out, be VIP, because when you're a reporter, like you know everyone in all the clubs. So they just like let you in, they give you a table, they do whatever you want. So it was really cool to just have like a free like trip on a private jet, like a millionaire for a day. And we had like bodyguards watching us while we ate. So we got to kind of feel like a celebrity. So that was probably one of the coolest days I ever had. And that lady and her husband were so nice. Like every time I go to Vegas, they'll send me presents. They're like, do you want to stay at our house? Do you need our security? Like, so it's really cool to see. And it's cool also to see that people who are at like the top of their game, they're manifestors and they're really good people too.
I love that. That is beautiful. So let's talk about 2020, because it's kind of been a little bit of an interesting year. How has your life changed, or how has things changed for you? I mean, we're gonna talk about your engagement in a little bit, but obviously that's a big thing. But what's happened in 2020? How has it changed for you? Obviously, no red carpets, no kind of things have changed. What's happened for you?
It's so weird because I feel like I'm manifesting even more. I know that sounds crazy. So before this had started, my life was actually on a trajectory. I had felt like I wasn't doing reporting as much because even though it's the pandemic, the magazines and the news in general is just not making money like it used to. When I was first brought on board, they had a little bit more money. So things were kind of dying down for a while in the magazine area. And my events and everything else was ramping up, which of course I want to own my own business. But again, I have that feeling in my heart that I'm supposed to do these interviews, and I was feeling sad. And so before the pandemic hit, the magazine stuff was ramping up really well and my events were ramping up. So I was in like a really great place. I was like doing the magazine 2 days a week, everything else the other days of the week. I was growing my YouTube channel, and then everything stopped. And at first I was sad because I was like, I'm on this trajectory of where I want to be, kind of how everyone feels. And I couldn't do my events, and I make the most money from my events. Like that's where the bulk of my salary comes from. I'm like, where is my salary going to come from? Like, what am I going to do? So I decided to just hone in on my YouTube channel, and my YouTube channel started growing significantly. And I started doubling the amount of money that I make on YouTube, which is not a lot yet. And then I started pitching stories to the magazine instead of covering the event. And I used to think like, oh, you know, why aren't they answering my stories? And they were like, oh, I'm sorry, we're like understaffed, we're so busy, keep emailing me. So I've actually been becoming more confident to just like reach out to my sources and pitch. And then as it comes to my events, even though I can't do it, some of the brands we work with are so nice that they've hired me and my partner on to work with them for the year on other projects, converting that money. So even though I lost a significant amount of my money and had to file for unemployment for some things, it's the first time in my life that I've had money coming in every month instead of like large lump sums. So with everything combined, I'm actually making more money than I had made last year, just because everything just seems to be coming together. And I find myself gaining more confidence and seeing that like everyone I know, like everyone's getting the rest they need because they can be home. And I'm kind of realizing, even though I want to do a bunch of things, I'm really happy being at home and working on my own time. So I'm actually noticing things getting better.
That's awesome. That's amazing. And so where do you think it's going to go like next year? Do you feel like events are going to start to come back? Like, what have you kind of learned or heard of, or most things going to be still virtual?
I think you could do some in-person things. We're going to stay virtual until, like we're thinking, by the way, of doing a virtual event before the year ends to convert some of the brands who wanted to do something still this year. But I think till at least like May next year. I don't think it's going to be, people can do in-person things, but it's kind of like a liability to do something in person. So
absolutely, I feel you. And it's amazing that you've taken that, you've adapted. You're like, hey, because you know, everybody had this hit where like, oh my goodness, I've had to pivot, I'd have to change. But you sound like a positive person anyway, that's, you know, knows how to create the life that you want with manifesting. So let's talk a little bit about your engagement. Congratulations. I saw that video. I was like, oh my God, this is epic. I have to reach out to you. Tell me about how long have you been in a relationship for? What was your engagement? How did you manifest the actual engagement?
Okay, this is just like crazy. Hopefully I don't say the story too long, but really my whole life I've manifested like everything I've ever wanted, particularly like in business or in school. Like I would always have like straight A's. I would always be on the dean's list. I would always have crazy opportunities. Like I wanted to be on my Super Sweet 16 when I was 16. I didn't end up being on my Super Sweet 16, but MTV did call me and interview me. So like my parents didn't think it was weird when they'd be like, oh, and why is MTV on the phone? It was like typical Lindsay, or like, why is the Red Bull girls at our house giving us like thousands of Red Bull cans? I'd be like, oh, I met the girls and like asked them to give me like Red Bull because I wanted to have a party. And so like I could always make that manifest, but I could never manifest a relationship. And I had this mindset because I actually did manifest a relationship before my fiance. And this guy I thought was my soulmate. And I basically like manifested so hard that I almost feel like I forced him to be with me. Like I didn't force him, but somehow I orchestrated it by thinking too hard. And that became like a really toxic relationship, even though it was like the Notebook, like the feelings, but it was really toxic. And so after that experience, I realized you can't really manifest a relationship because like I had this negative thought, like you can't change someone's free will. Like I thought it was like you can make someone like you, because I kind of felt like that's what I didn't make him like me, but I really put in a lot of effort that it ended up happening. And so I was like, you know, you can't change someone's free will. And I just kept thinking of it like that, because in jobs you can make someone hire you. You can, like, the harder you work in work, the more money you make, the better job you get. In relationships, it doesn't work that way necessarily. Like if you work too hard, like it's not healthy. And one day I decided I was going to like change that mindset, and I was really upset. I like literally yelled at the universe. I was like, I'm done. I've learned my lesson. Like I'm tired of all these guys like being mean to me and using me and me feeling like I'm not good enough. Like what am I doing different with business that I am not doing with relationships? And so I had realized with business, in my mind, I was more confident. Like I'd walk into a meeting and I would say, these people need to hire me. I have a lot to offer and I don't need this job. So if they don't hire me, like that's their loss, and I can just create my own business, or someone else is going to hire me. So I was like non-needing of a job. So I would get phone calls still to this day left and right where I just have to turn down opportunities. And when it came to guys, it wasn't that I was like super needy that I needed a guy, but I wasn't coming at it with the confidence. Like if someone broke up with me, I would be so heartbroken. I like couldn't live, you know. It wasn't like, I don't need you. Like if you treat me bad, you know, there's another guy out there. I know my worth. Like I wasn't carrying myself that way. So I was like, okay, one, I'm going to carry myself in a better way. Two, and this again is the story of how everything manifested. Two, I'm going to make a vision board, because I had never made a vision board. I had only done journaling and affirmations. And I had never, ever once written in my affirmations about manifesting a guy or like what I wanted in a significant other. I only wrote about business or like confidence and how I like looked or myself. So I was like, okay, I actually have the vision board right here. I was like, this is literally the first vision board I made. And this is the first time I put love on it. And I actually dated it to last until 2020. And so what's crazy is the year that I did that, and I wrote down that year as well, everything I wanted in a significant other. And that was the year I started dating my now fiance. And so it's so weird, because it was like 2020, I put like to get engaged by, it's 2020, I got engaged. Everything I wrote down my list, he has. And the very last thing I wrote in my list is a guy who could propose to me doing a viral flash mob video. And I remember thinking like, this was like, I even thought that before I wrote the list, by the way. Like when those started coming out on YouTube, I didn't even write that down. I just thought like, I wish this could be me one day. And I always was like, no, like, who am I going to meet? Especially when I was thinking about this way before I made all these vision boards. This was before everyone had cameras and was like a YouTuber. I was just like, who am I going to meet who can like shoot and edit a video and like get it to that magnitude, or do just even pull it off? Like that's too much to ask for. Like it would just be the icing on the cake, because like obviously that's not a qualifier of why I should like be with a person. And Alex, turns out that he's a former YouTube star who has had YouTube videos that have reached over 50 million views. So like the universe literally was like, when I wrote down viral video flash mob, he was a guy who actually literally makes viral videos. And then he did, when he proposed to me, obviously he knew it was something I wanted. I didn't know if he was going to go through with that or something else, but he ended up surprising me with a flash mob and proposing to me last month. Actually, we're going to be posting the video next week. I don't know when this video is going up, but I'm really excited about that. But it was literally everything I wrote down on my list, down to the littlest detail. Like the year I made the vision board and actually started focusing on confidence and relationships and changing my mindset was the year we started dating. And we were friends before that, like, and everything came true. So it was definitely, for me, having this come full circle just really felt, it was like a highlight of my life. Like getting the job at the magazine really proved to me, if you believe in yourself, you can get a job that's hard to get, your dream job, be on the red carpet. But then I also learned that if you change who you are within yourself to just be more confident and loving the same way you apply to work, it's not about controlling another person. It's just about like exuding who you want to be and just saying like, this is what I deserve. Like I literally said when I made this board, like the next guy I date, I'm going to marry. And I didn't know if it was going to happen, but I really meant it in my heart, and it really happened.
That's phenomenal. And to even have it to down to the proposal. But look, if you don't ask for it, you're not going to get it. You don't
Yeah.
know. I remember
And
somebody telling me that when I was like 10 years old. They said, if you don't ask, you don't get.
Yeah,
And
if
like,
you don't
we're
ask, you
always
don't get.
taught, don't ask for things, don't ask for things, you know? And it's like, no, he would tell me like, if you don't ask for things, you won't get it because no one's going to know what it is that you want.
Exactly. And like I said, even when I thought that, it was the last thing that I put on my list. And I was just like, no, like, you know, like every time I make a wish, I'll be like, oh, you know, like, I don't want to be like too greedy. Like, that's what I was saying. And I was just like, you know, that would just be the icing on the cake. But the universe took it literal. I mean, like word for word, like, I don't know how I ended up with like Alex. Like, he's like well, I know how I ended up with him, but you know, I wasn't like it when I met him. I didn't like it was when YouTubers were just starting to be like a thing. And I just never really thought about like, I'm going to marry a guy who's like a former YouTube star, you know. It was like the literal word of viral video. Like the universe was like, I'm going to do you one better. Like this is going to be actually a job quality of the person that you're with, which even is more engraved into my list that I wanted someone who was like a creative entrepreneur who like liked to make magical moments like I do. So it just goes to show, like, don't be afraid to put a wish out there. Like, don't feel guilty. Just like shoot for the stars. It's true.
That's so awesome. And you said it earlier, like, don't, you know, I felt greedy. Like, don't feel greedy. If you don't ask for it, you don't know. So talk us through, how often do you manifest? What does it look like for you? Are you doing it on a daily basis? Are you writing things down? Are you doing visuals? Like, how does it look for you? What do you do if someone's like, okay, I want to start manifesting, but like, where do I even start?
Yeah. So for me, I'm at the point where like I do it all the time that now it's kind of like a frequency that I often live on. And I don't do it all the time every day. I'm not like a perfect person where like, this girl's perfect. She does like wakes up for 5 minutes and like meditates and then writes all day. I don't always do that. That's my process when I'm going through like a rut. I'll go more hardcore. But I would say if you're just starting out, the first thing really to do is just start with like daily affirmations, or even just get an app on your phone that has affirmations on it. It's just all about changing your mindset to be positive. And I like doing it in different ways, like how I have my vision board. Like not only do I write it down, but I also have a visual vision board. I also have gotten into something called mirror work. My friend Marcy Newman's a life coach, and she actually created the technique of having a mirror vision board. Mirror work's been around forever. So if you put your vision board on a mirror, or motivational things on your mirror, which I actually did that before I knew it was a thing. Like that's how I got my job as a reporter. I had put Post-it notes on my mirror of all the things I wanted. So every day I would, you know, you go in the bathroom every day, you might as well tell yourself you're beautiful. Like, what do we do when we look in the mirror? We say like, you critique yourself. So why don't we just change it and actually put the things you want on the mirror? You're literally physically, it's like you're falling in love with yourself because you're looking into your own eyes. You're seeing yourself doing what you want to do. So that those sort of things, like maybe you're a visual learner, those things really amplify it, or maybe you're writing. I would say those are the best things to help. And then even if you don't want to do any of those things and it's like too overwhelming, then I would say just daydream. Just like imagine what you want to be, like just imagine the whole scenario. Like I think about me meeting Oprah all the time and what I'm going to say to her, or I imagine myself on a beach and I think about it in detail, like how it feels, the sun on my face, how relaxed I am on vacation. So I would say those three things are like the best places to start, because in your mind, you can really do whatever you want. And you don't realize that when you're constantly thinking of these things, you're allowing your subconscious to find these opportunities every day. And one day you'll wake up and be like, oh, like I'm not as hard on myself today. Like, oh, the situation, like it's so weird. You just wake up and you're seeing things in a new light.
Oh, that's beautiful. And I think too, that you get like emotionally connected to those goals as well, because you've like visualized that, you've like seen it happen. So, you know, yes, you need to manifest, but also working hard as well. But the working hard, I feel when I've been like daydreaming and thinking about a dream or a goal that I want to achieve, I'll get emotional. Like I will cry, I will actually feel it. So the next day when like, I'm like, do I really want to like do the thing that I need to get to where I want to go? I'm like, absolutely. There isn't anything inside of me that's like saying like, no. You're just like doing it because you're so emotionally connected to that goal that like nothing is going to stop you or get in your way.
Yeah, that's how you feel. It's like this emotional connection. And even also I would say like the key to manifesting is putting like an intent behind it. Like for me, the intent behind everything I do is love. And I want everybody that I come in contact with to feel better about themselves than they felt before they met me. So that's always like behind what I want, because like material things, like, yes, they make me happy. I want like a nice house. I want like a dream job. I want money. Like those are all fun, but they're not going to make you happy. Like if all of those things were gone, what would I have left? And so that's the question I always ask myself when I'm putting the intent behind it. And what I want to have left is like the intent behind everything I do, because I feel like that's the frequency everyone picks up on, because they're like, oh, how do you meet someone like Rebecca-Louise? Like, well, you're living on that frequency. So it's like, you know it when you see it. And I've been able, I mean, even as a journalist, even working with celebrities, I've also had to work with other people from the other spectrum. I've had to have sources who were drug dealers and, you know, people you think wouldn't be easy to talk to, and celebrities' families, or just people who aren't necessarily on that high frequency. But it's interesting to see, because when you're living on that frequency, they actually come to that level as well to you. And they aren't crazy. They aren't like that way. They actually, it almost like brings out like their true self. And that's like what I always want to do. And being able to see that you can bring people from that level, or even a celebrity that might be, you don't know what they're dealing with every day, like bringing them to be themselves, and you see that moment where like they get this look in their eye and this glow around them. Like that's what I put behind everything I do. I want to feel that way, and I want everyone else to feel that way.
That's beautiful. I think everyone's going to want to be your friend. They're going to be like, okay, how do I call up Lindsay? I'm going to need to have a lunch date with her. That was amazing. I'm so excited for this podcast to come out, for people to hear it. Where can people find you and find all the things and kind of get in contact with you? What do you have going on?
Yeah, you can find me on social media. I actually have a blog and a YouTube channel all about manifestation. I can't even say it. Manifestation. So my YouTube and all of my social media is at Lindsay B. Hoffman, and my blog is www.doseofbliss.com. So everything I talked about and everything, I literally have a thing, my vision board in real life, where I show my vision board and then I show how I show it when it manifested, and then I say how I did it. So I have everything there for you, and you can be my friend.
That's amazing. Awesome. Well, we're going to put all of your details below. Thank you so much, Lindsay, for coming on the show. I know it's going to resonate with so many of my audience, so I really appreciate you being open and honest and sharing what's happened to you. So thank you so much, guys. Make sure that you go and give Lindsay a follow on her YouTube, Instagram, all of the things, and we will see you guys next week. Bye.
Thank you. Bye.
Did no one tell you that everything you're describing is exactly what it feels like to have a business? None of us know what we're doing. We are figuring this out as we go. And every time I was like, really? Did you